Welcome everyone to Atheism 101. I'm your favorite bard, Korak the Bard, and today I'm turning my attention away from the professional grifting and engagement farming Christians and focusing on the average Joe Christian. You know, someone who's a real meat and potatoes guy.
I'm a meat and potatoes type of guy.
Let's see if their arguments for God are any different or even better than the professionals. Although be warned, if you've ever played a Mega Man game, you'll know that the big bad bosses can easily be taken down by exploiting their weaknesses, while the minions are often the most pernicious, especially when they never come out from under that goddamn helmet. Gah, fucking minions. Well, this particular rank-and-file minion is called Trust, and if his buttery, rich voice matches the picture, I'd love to spend some time spreading sweet liberty over those rippling biceps of his. But alas, we're here to talk about God, so I'm going to see if we can crack this minion's helmet. And as usual, since this is a Twitter live space, I'm miles away from sober as we bear witness to the Drunken Bard Master in action. Apologies for the dog shit sound quality. Elon fired all the competent people. Without further ado, meet Trust.
First of all, like for me, people say science only pretty much discovers. How can I put it like this? So science only could tell you what's there. They don't really create anything new. It just tells you what's already there and technologies that's already there, whether if it's the human body or the human spirit, it only could report what's already there. Now they can't explain how it got there, what it's made out of, and some things they can, some things they can't. Doesn't mean that a complex mind did not design it, because all of us are complex. Your body is complex. It rebuilds itself. The human people try to mimic something that a technology that was thousands of years ahead of its time. Now, it's just a body, right? We're more than just a body, actually. We have souls, we have spirits that gives power and life to the body, because when it's taken out of the body, all right, we can tell the difference. The body shrivels up. You can tell something was there, but it's gone. And
Okay. Let me. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Let me just stop you there, because that's a couple of points that you made. I just want to make sure we're hearing you correctly. So, are you suggesting that a God started the universe and that's why we're here, or what's like the end game here?
So I am suggesting God, because yes. So everything around us has a design. It has a law that was written, seen and unseen.
So which God designed it?
I believe Jehovah Jireh, God of the Bible, God of...
What's that? Jehovah Jireh?
Jehovah Jireh.
Is that like...
Shabbos!
And if you're confused by Trust's opening argument, we're just getting started. Nothing he says has anything to do with anything else he says.
That is able to tell the prophecies coming to life, which is a freaking amazing.
So you believe in the God of the Bible, am I?
Oh yeah.
Correct?
Oh yeah. And even if I didn't believe in him, doesn't make him go away. He's still there.
But you would, I think you would agree with me. Your believing in him also doesn't mean he's true, right?
Well, there's evidence.
Get used to this, folks. This holds true for both the professionals and the rank-and-file theists alike, even when they're speaking to each other. They may answer a question with a question, or deflect, or be deliberately obtuse. But if they ever get around to actually answering a question, it's not the question you asked. And this was an easy one. When Trust said,
and even if I didn't believe in him, doesn't make him go away. He's still there.
Logically,
it should follow that believing in a God doesn't make that God real. But alas, he doesn't feel like answering that question. Fortunately, as a bardic druid, I can channel the spirit of an ox and become just as stubborn. All right, regardless of whatever God you believe in, just because you believe in him doesn't make that God true, right?
And that's true. It doesn't make that God's true or untrue. But it's just like if you don't believe in me, doesn't mean that I can't do something.
I don't need to believe in you. You're talking to me. So what is the difference between you believing in the God that you believe in and, say, the ancient Greeks believing in Zeus?
Well, let me prove it to you for a moment.
All right. Yeah. Here's the thing. If you have evidence for your God, I'm totally willing to give you as much time as you need to present your evidence. So go ahead. If you have evidence for your God, go right ahead.
So you have to kind of measure. First of all, when we do these tests of if God is real, if things around us are real, I don't believe a lot of times our tools are advanced to actually do these tests, right?
That's not evidence for God. That's
So
not where we're going. All I'm asking you is if you have a God that you believe in, tell me why you believe in that. Like, what evidence convinced you that this God exists?
every design, every that air that you're breathing right now, the sun that you wake up to every
Okay.
morning.
So wait, hang on. So what you're arguing is because we breathe air, therefore there's a God. Is that your
Well,
argument?
would you not deny that every clockmaker there's a design? I mean, there's a
No,
designer of
I'm
the
not. I'm
clock.
not getting into the watchmaker argument. I'm asking you, because we breathe air, that is proof that there's a God.
Yes, there's a
Because that's
designer.
what you said.
Right.
All right. So that's what you said. So because we breathe air, there's a God. That's your argument. Or do you have better evidence than that?
The trees, the ground that we.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean,
Look at the
everything
tree.
around
Okay.
it.
Here's the problem. Here's the
I
problem.
got
Here's
to.
the problem
I got to
with
finish my
your
thought.
argument. I'm just no, you can't, because I'm going to tell you the problem with your argument. If I tell you we breathe air and look at the trees, therefore Odin was the creator of the universe, how is my argument any different than yours?
So it goes into who you believe actually made it. So we're not denying
Right.
this. We're
So
not denying.
I believe in Odin and you believe in Yahweh. So how do we figure out which one is the real one, or if either of us is right?
Right. Well, again, you don't have to. We can go back and forth with names, but the fact is, just the establishing that there is a designer or creator is the point of the
Well, hang on.
conversation. Right.
Well, no, you're declaring there's a designer. I'm asking you for proof of a designer. And again, the proof that you provided is the same proof I could provide for Odin. So how do we figure out if
Who's
there
right and
is a
who's
God
wrong?
that actually created everything?
Okay. So now you want to get okay. So for me to do that, I have to get into like biblical verses, right? Like things that, for example,
No.
if you told me tomorrow.
Well, we're off to a great start. The God of the Bible is real because we breathe air and look at the trees. But to really prove it, we've got to go to the Bible. And by the way, prophecy. It's a veritable grab bag of Christian apologetics.
We have things there that we can't explain. However, we can't explain it because of the tools that we're using to test these things. Is not.
Well, hang on. That's not what I'm asking for. What I'm asking for is if you're claiming there's a God, there should be some kind of evidence that proves, oh yeah, that's the God that made the universe.
What
So
type
what
of evidence would
evidence do
you
you
look for?
Well, that's up to you. If you ask me, if I told you I have $100 in my pocket and you didn't believe me, what would you do?
Well, I will ask you to take the $100 out and let me see it myself.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. You would ask for proof. And if I showed you that proof, I would prove my claim. So your claim is that a God created the universe. What evidence do you have that? Because if I
Well,
tell you I got $100 in my pocket and you ask me to prove it, I pull out $100 or I don't,
well,
and I'm a liar.
or,
So
or,
you're telling me that a God created the universe. So I'm asking, where
or,
do you look for the evidence
or,
that this God created the universe? No, not or.
no, I'm
Just
about to
answer the
say, or you can
question.
show me evidence that you're actually buying things, right? I don't have to see the money. I just know that you're
Right.
buying things. You can go to the store.
Okay.
Okay, this guy just bought
Yeah.
$26
Fair enough.
worth of,
Fair.
of a
Totally
turkey.
fair. Totally fair. If instead of $100, I show you $100 pair of shoes that I got, obviously I had $100 to buy the pair of shoes,
Right.
or I stole them. But there's evidence there. So on that analogy, what do you have to offer me when you say a God created this universe? What evidence do you have to offer?
Okay, so you may not consider this necessarily evidence, but I will say change lives, right? Impact of
Well,
God.
hang on. No, that's not evidence. Here's why. If I was an alcoholic and then I became a non-alcoholic and I said I did it all myself, or I credit Odin, or I credit Zeus, or I credit Yahweh, that doesn't necessarily mean that a God reached in and cured my alcoholness, right?
Not necessarily true. We have to wait
Right,
for
exactly.
the time,
So
right?
exactly,
Are you going
it's
to go
not
back to alcohol?
necessarily true. So
No.
you're claiming
Hear
that
what I
there's
said. Hear what I said.
no.
I said we have to look at the time, right? So if you didn't drink for say 5 years or whatnot, and you stopped cold turkey, you gave say God actually healed me from my drinking. I have no desire. He killed the desire, and I haven't
Right.
drunk for 5 years. Would you believe him?
And if that person said after 5 years it was because I prayed to Zeus, right? How much more of a claim does he have over anybody else who says that I prayed to Jesus and now I'm not an alcoholic?
Well, look, at the end of the day, I hear what you're saying, and again, you go into names, but at the same time, you are saying, okay, well, there is a God, because this guy, I knew this guy. He was an alcoholic. He was in the streets. He was
Yeah.
drinking all the time, and
Yeah.
now his life is completely changed. Not just changed
Right.
for the
No,
for the
I know a
alcoholism.
guy. I know a guy whose life was changed. He used to be a pimp and a drug addict and a drug dealer, and then he turned his life over to Odin, and now his life is completely changed. So I have the same claim as you. Odin changed this guy's life, and you're looking at a different guy and saying Jesus changed this guy's life. How do we figure out whether or not there's a Jesus or an Odin who changed their life, or if they decided to turn their lives around because of non-spiritual and godlike influences?
Well, in the Old Testament, there used to be a lot of this back and forth with, okay, my God is
Hang
real,
on,
your God is
hang on.
fake.
All
Yeah.
right, if you're going to go to the Old Testament, I'm going to ask you very sincerely, why should I give a fuck what the Bible says?
Because it's profitable, it's valuable. The words, not
Valuable?
just it's
It's
very
valuable.
valuable. It's so complicated that it takes
Yeah.
lifetimes for
Here's the thing.
scientists to figure out,
It's
but so
it's worth
easy to understand that children can actually understand the principle from it. It's valuable.
really. So tell me, do you have children? Are you a
I
father?
do. I do have a
Okay.
child.
So when did you talk about Ezekiel 29 or Deuteronomy 22 to your children? Did you talk to them
Can you
about that?
repeat those verses for the purpose for the room? People that
Sure.
don't.
Ezekiel 29 has to do with men who had dicks the size of horse cocks and emitted semen the size of donkey emissions. And Deuteronomy 29 details that if a man rapes a woman, he has the right to buy her for 50 shekels. So, did you tell that to your kids?
Of course not, but I will have to actually look
Really?
and
Of course
see.
not.
Well, no, hold on
Why?
a
Why?
second.
Of course not.
I have to go and see what those chapters are actually about. I mean, I'm
Okay.
taking your word. How do I know if that's true or
Okay.
not?
Oh dear, here we have yet another Christian who hasn't read their Bible. Although I do agree with Trust, the Bible is profitable if you're peddling the good word as a tax-exempt entity. Of course, being presented with some of the, shall we say, more unsavory parts of the Bible, Trust did what any God-fearing Christian would do: change the subject and make a dog shit analogy.
I will propose this. Most of us are dead spiritually, right? So the
Well,
connection that we supposed to have with God is not happening because our frequency is off. Right. So if your frequency is like a radio frequency, if you can get nothing but static, and here I am saying, hey, I heard a voice on the other end because I tuned into into God's voice, but you're hearing static, so there's a problem. I'm hearing a voice, you're hearing static because someone's not tuned in correctly. And
okay,
our
well,
bodies are so
hang on. No, I want to use that analogy. All right, in your analogy, we're using a radio station, right, to tune into what God's saying, correct?
absolutely
Okay,
directly to God.
all right. So in your analogy, what is the radio that we're trying to use?
In my analogy, the radio I'm using, I can speak for me and I can speak for most people. We all can say most channels you're gonna get a static. Okay, you're
That's
gonna get
no,
this.
no, that's not answering my question. What is the
Give me
radio in this analogy?
the
Like
radio
if
that
there's
I'm using or the frequency that I'm using.
yeah.
Okay, that's through the spirit, right? For you to
Well,
speak to God.
okay,
Yeah,
so now you have the very unenviable decision of now defending your assertion that there is a spirit anything.
yeah.
So what do you mean by spiritual?
Well, that's who you are. That gives us personality. That's
No,
the
who I
soul.
am is a grown man that has
No,
nothing to do with spirit. So what
you're
do you
more
mean
than the
by
body.
spiritual? If you so I'm more than so where is this more than my body contained?
Well, let me prove it to you. When you talk to yourself in your own in your body, when you're talking to yourself in your own head, that's your spirit, man. Let me just land my plane then. So all I'm trying to say is that yes, the for example, when we believe in something so much and we start speaking things into existence, a lot of us those things come to pass. Well, how is that possible?
Wait,
How can you
hang
sit
on, hang
here
on, hang
and
on, hang on, hang on. Are you suggesting that I can speak something and it will manifest in reality?
we have seen that? There's a lot of
Wait,
evidence.
No, no, no. What have you seen specifically that somebody spoke and then it manifested in reality? Please tell me.
Yeah, for me, I'm a car guy.
I give up. There is no possible answer to the question what was spoken that manifested in reality that starts with.
For me, I'm a car guy.
So, just to recap, God exists because we breathe oxygen. The Bible is profitable even though this guy doesn't read it. When you talk to yourself, you're talking to your spirit, and he knows you can manifest something into reality by speaking it because he's a car guy. I'll confess, I'm tired of shooting at this fucking minion's helmet. I'm gonna need to tag out.
Here comes a new challenger!
I'll hand the next round off to my good friend Dr. Scorpion.
Not the medical kind.
Not even the other kind.
Oh boy.
Technically.
Apart from providing the kick-ass guitar licks for today's episode, has a very specific breakdown on the fine-tuning argument as it applies to the air we breathe and how we measure time.
I have a few issues with the designer God concept that Trust brought up. The first one, using the air we breathe as an example of God's great design. So 21% of the air that we breathe, roughly 21%, is oxygen, which is the stuff that our cells use for powering. That shit's toxic, and it's extremely dangerous for our cells. And our cells have to have secondary mechanisms inside them to deal with what's referred to as the superoxide ions, which are very, very reactive oxygen ions that are the byproduct of cellular metabolism. For most of Earth's history, oxygen was a toxic byproduct, and it's only in the last few million years that any organisms have evolved mechanisms to use oxygen as a fuel source. Those that did not evolve great mechanisms because our cells are constantly damaged by the very oxygen that they need for fuel. So yeah, using the air we breathe as a evidence for a designer is again not a great argument. But that's not actually my favorite one.
But wait! There's more!
My favorite one is simply how long a year is. Like, how long is a year? 365 days. Yep, we all know that.
During the days of the dinosaur, that we had 23-hour days, but go ahead.
Yeah, so it's not 365 days. It's 365 and a quarter days. But that's not true either, because it's actually 365.24, so it's slightly under a quarter. So even allowing for an extra year, that still isn't quite right. And even 365 days, 5 hours, 49 minutes, 1.1 seconds.
525,600 minutes.
That's the length of the year. Now, if you're going to argue to me that a supreme intelligence designed a universe with humans in mind, like, let's not even start with how big the universe actually is. Let's not even start with the Hubble Deep Field image or Carl Sagan's pale blue dot. Let's just talk about how long it takes our one planet to go around the sun. If you are arguing that a well-designed, intelligent God made the rotation of this planet around the sun 365.242374 days long, you're on very, very shaky ground. That's not a design.
Well, the design about that is that they don't crash into one another. It does the same thing every single time.
The good doctor just explained that it doesn't happen the same every single time. That's why we have fucking leap years. And if your evidence for a god is that celestial objects don't crash into each other, I have some bad news. Our moon is the result of a planet-sized object colliding with Earth. But according to the Bible, God just magicked it into existence.
The claims that your Bible makes are demonstrably false compared to what we can prove cosmologically, astronomically, biologically, and anthropologically.
Well, what planet did the moon come from? I guess you said it's remnants from another. What planet did the moon come from?
It's at this point I gave Trust an abridged cosmology lesson. For the full version, check out my cosmology video. But alas, Helmet Minion is impenetrable. Trust went on to tell me a very long and rambling story about faith healing. And in the interest of time, I'll skip to the part where Trust was healed of an illness when his mother prayed and laid hands on him. Yet his brother died, despite he and his mother praying for him. So naturally, I asked him why he would worship a God that saves some of his believers from illness, yet allows others to die despite their prayers.
What you're saying is you worship a God that allowed your brothers to die but spared you for no good reason that you can't explain. Why the fuck would you worship that God?
Out of 100 people are going to die one day.
Why would you worship that God?
Because 100 out of 100 people are going to die, right? I know that. We all know that.
So you wait.
But what
Your
condition
answer,
are you
hang on.
in? Where's your heart at?
Your answer is, I worship that God because people are going to die anyway. And with that, I rest my fucking case.
I swear these helmet heads do a far better job of churning out atheists than I could ever do with their nonsense assertions and backward-ass rationales. And to prove it, here's what Trust had to say when I gave him as much time as he needed to make the case for his God. If you can find a single cogent point or a piece of advice worth following, or anything that points to evidence of a God, leave a note for me in the comments. Because for the life of me, all I can see here is alphabet soup with the side of word salad.
Warning. The following is an unedited clip of a Christian trying to show evidence for his God. Those susceptible to cringe-induced injuries or allergic to word salad may want to avert their eyes. Viewer discretion advised.
Yeah, so listen, everything that I will say this, everything that we hold dear to ourselves, whether if it's moral law, life purpose, fulfillment, prophecy fulfillment, all these things would not be here if God didn't set those standards. Like, who created gravity, the law of gravity, and said, okay, well, this is written into the earth law. If you jump off this cliff, you will surely fall down and die, right? Or fall down and hurt yourself. Gravity will pull you. Instead of pulling you up, it pulls you down. And it happens all the time. Who says that the water is able to stop here on the shores every night and move back this far during the day? These laws are written and not just into a piece of paper, but it's written into the earth. Like, it's going to happen. Laws of right and wrong is written into our hearts. We all know the difference. It's not that we didn't know anything at all, but we know what's wrong to lie. We know what's wrong to cheat. We know what's wrong to commit adultery. We know all these things. My point is this: throughout history, God has created things that has been seen and unseen. All right. And regardless how big they are or small they are, we know these things work together, and it works in perfect harmony. Nothing's out of line. Okay. Perfection does not come from people, because we are not perfect anymore. We were created to be perfect in the beginning. Unfortunately, we lost those qualities about ourselves because we have sinned against God. And some of you may not like what I'm saying. That's fine. Listen, I swear to God, I probably won't swear against you. I still love you. Doesn't make a difference. All right. I hope you don't hate me because I'm saying this. I have a difference of opinion. But all I would have to say is that we're more than just a body. We're spiritual beings that's operating this body. We're going to live somewhere else. We're going to be dead a lot longer than we're going to be alive. So where you're going to exist, it's up to you. It's not, our bodies we're going to die. It's just part of the process. But whether that's heaven or hell, whether if you believe it or not, I think we just need to do more investigation into it, because just like that baby that's in the mother's womb, he could press on the inside of that baby, the mother's womb, the stomach, and might even be able to feel a hand from the father, right? But that baby only can go off the evidence that it hears and touch in that mother's womb. They don't know, like I said, don't know that there's a big and brighter world outside of the mother. Okay. Just like we look up to the sky and we don't know that it's a bigger and brighter world outside of this earth, and even outside of the universe. There's layers to this. And just because you may not know the answer today does not mean that the answer does not exist. So don't be so quick to discount it and say that is no evidence, when we see all the evidence around us every day that we are alive, that there is a designer, there's a God, and he's created this beautiful world, and there's nothing that I can create that he hasn't created already. So I'm out here to convince you. I think you just need to have like a God moment for yourself in your own life. We can have one as a people. We can talk about it here on Twitter, but you need to have a God moment in your own life, because I think it's God want to reach people on a personal level, not just like a country type of thing or a whole group type of thing. It has to be a personal thing. So that's all I got. I mean, right now, I'm sorry, 6 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock, 7:30. I'm out here to convince. I'm just telling you what God done for me in my own life. And I can never deny that from him. Being on both sides of one who did not believe, did not have a relationship with him, to someone that actually became, I had a Damascus experience where God completely changed my life, and I can never deny him. I'm sorry, I just can't. Nothing you guys can give me to tell me that I would deny God, but I'll just land my plane there.
For those of you trying to make a lick of sense out of this, I can't help you. But as a cunning linguist whose fingers are as fast as his talented tongue, your favorite bard typed Trust's entire monologue out in real time, only replacing Jesus and God with Odin. I then repeated his own argument back to him word for word and asked him how we determine who's correct based on the assertions presented. His answer is as short as it is disappointing.
Well, it's easy to find that out. It's like 1 + 1 is 2.
A bit anticlimactic, I know, but welcome to my world. For all his terrible arguments, though, at least Trust was by and large an honest interlocutor. He sincerely believes these things, even though the things he believes are monstrous, and his only evidence is assertions. He agreed to have a formal debate in the future, so maybe if he listens to this playback and commentary, he might finally learn the difference between evidence and assertions, and at long last present some actual evidence in our next encounter. Until then, thanks for watching. If you'd like early and exclusive access to your favorite bard, along with your own personalized theme song, come sit at the cool kids table at the cafeteria over at patreon.com/KorakTheBard. As always, a huge thank you to my beautiful and sexy patrons, especially the deadly rabbit of Caravana for his AI artistry, and my dear Dr. Scorpion, who's going to play us out with a Mega Man 2 soundtrack. This is your favorite bard, Korak the Bard, singing off with...
Yeah, we breathe is toxic as fuck. Time is just an arbitrary illusion. You are on a floating rock in space, doomed to live a pointless existence. But while you're here, that doesn't mean you have to give into despair. There's lots of things you can do besides wasting time worshiping gods. You have a limited time to live the life you want, so don't waste any time worshiping a project god.